Hey folks, it's Volodya from Hyphen, and today we will talk about the DWNs. As you could see, I get my merge from the TBD folks, so thank you. And first time when I take a look to web5, it was quite long time ago when this idea just appeared. I made a video that, what the hell is just repackaging of the SSI. I've been doing SSI for 2 years. And it's yet another marketing hype. So it was my first reaction, to be honest. But I start following the community. I start taking a look to the thing that they are doing, and in some point I realized that actually the web5 makes sense. It's not just SSI; it's SSI in a core, but they bring quite interesting and important topic or the solution to the quite important thing. That with the DWNs you have a storage layer, and you have a storage layer in a quite flexible way. I built the full encrypted storage for the VCs myself, and I know how challenging it is and how challenging it move from the wallet to the applications that in a quite large data scale. And the common problem when you're working in a SSI, that people obsessed with the idea that everything is the verifiable credential, and it's totally wrong. So because not everything should be VCified, and one of the tasks that, for example, I had, that we have a file and how to package the file to the verifiable credential. Yeah, so the most straightforward way is just create a schema that have some encoded data, so from the binary, and sign it and so on, but then it doesn't make sense because you get the huge payload. The JSON LT, it's not the best format for the binary. Yeah, we have a problem here. So we shouldn't VCify the things. For sure, we could store the file, get the MD or checksum from it, and give credentials together with the file. But then we have the problem of the integrity. Yeah, that you have the credentials separated from the file and all other things. And then you need to have some heterogeneous storage that allows you to serve both. And it's a lot of challenges, but I believe that not everything should be a VC. We will talk about what the VC and verifiability of VC is really mean in maybe my other video, but you could read my Medium blog that trust is not verifiable to understand this topic better. But what the decentralized web nodes actually bring to the table, that you could have a data. This data could not be just the VCs, they could be any arbitrary data. It's really designed well for the structured data that have the JSON schema and all other things, but they could be the blob data too. And actually, you have the implicit ownership of the data. So somehow in the SSI we have a VP that prove that you own these VCs, and this request satisfied by you, signed by you, and so on. But with the decentralized web nodes, decentralized web node protocol have the implicit ownership. Yeah, that you give the reference to your DWN to somebody that will get the access to the data, so you could implicitly say that the person with this particular DID actually have this data in ownership. So, and it's a big game changer, because in this setup you have the owned data, but you don't need to VCify the data, you don't need to assign the data. You could sign it if you want, so you could just store the data with the signatures too, but it's open the doors to a much wider adoption, because you don't need to transport the data that you already have. You just transfer this data to the DWN storage and serve it from the DWN, instead of do the massive reissuance of the VCs. And DWN still, if it's not using the VCs, it's follow all the SSI principles that we have. So, and it's quite important for the community. Only one thing that I have in a conflict a bit, that, you know, the classical VCs, they follow the JSON LD and expect to have the context and the JSON LD schemas, and DWN work more with the JSON schemas itself, so they have the different concepts. So they serve the different needs, and you could take a look to my video that explain all these differences. But in general, you know, the DWN could be suitable as a VC storage. The DWN could be suitable for the blob storage and any kind of data storage that could build the decentralized applications. And it's really important to understand for the DWNs that it's the decentralized app and it's decentralized storage. So you should be careful, because you could have the multiple instances of the DWNs that gets it synced. So we could not just point to some you know, URL of the DWN and say that this data, because data probably will be replicated in a multiple DWNs, in a local DWN and the remote DWN and so on. But the main benefit of the DWNs that change the SSI landscape, that you don't need to VCify the data. You don't need to VCify the data, you don't need to reissue the data, you don't need to actually do a lot of things that was quite challenging in a classical SSI setup with the VCs and VPs. And you could share the data with the proof of the ownership without the turning the request to the VP, but you still could design the flexible protocols. So I guess that it will unlock a lot of application use cases, but we need to work together on the better protocol interfaces, and it's a lot of good challenges in a DWN space that still require the thinking tank and a lot of people that gets together and solve these problems. But we will talk about this in my next videos. And right now, play with the DWNs, try to do the experiments. If you do something cool with it, let me know. We do a lot of things with the DWNs. We build the artificial intelligence, full privacy, personal assistant that actually heavily use the DWN as the storage. So stay tuned and see you in my next videos. Cheers!